Ba 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 ba. Hip and the lip. Ba 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 ba. From unknown parts of metropolitan New York City, I am
Oops.
the hip, and this is the lip.
Yes, good evening, hipsters. Hello on this fine Wednesday evening indeed. A chilly Wednesday evening it is.
Episode 20. We've reached
Ooh,
a
the big 2-0. I didn't even
significant
realize.
milestone. I mean, it's just a number, but it makes you feel it's a round number, and we've made it this far. Who would have thought that people would actually keep listening? Well, we don't know, but I mean, if the demand for the playoff game 3 at the Barclays Center in the second round is any for those tickets is any indication, I don't know who is listening, because apparently the tickets for game 3 at the Barclays Center dropped precipitously leading up to that game, and we could get into that. But this is a New York Islanders podcast in any event. Let's
And a
step back
certain
for a second.
and a certain talk show host had a field day with that. I might add on
Indeed.
WFAN.
Right. So there's a lot going on in Islander Nation, that's for sure, as we are at the epitome, at least of this point in the season, of tension for this team, as they are down 2-1 in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs against the Tampa Bay Lightning, falling in just a heartbreaking 5-4 overtime loss last night at home, putting them down 2-1, and game 4 coming up on Friday night at Barclays. So we have a lot to get to. Since the last episode, we kind of were riding the high of the Islanders. That's probably their highest point of the season, having won that dramatic double overtime game 6 series clinching win against the Florida Panthers at home, with Johnny Tavares taking over. And then days later,
yes, it was indeed the climax. Yes,
and then
the
days
climax.
later,
and it's
taking
all back
yes,
downhill again.
Yes. Well, they took game 1 in Tampa 5-3, and we discussed that last show. And so since then, we've sustained 2 losses. So look, I mean, we could come in here and sulk and be mopey, and maybe you will be anyway. And I guess we kind of expect that at this point. You'll find plenty to criticize, and so be it. But
That's how us hipsters roll.
this is NHL playoff hockey. You can't expect to be up in the series every series, and this is a team that has not gotten this far in 23 years. So I'm gonna stay as positive as I can, and screw you. And I'm just saying it before you even get to the negativity in advance. I'm preempting your the misfortunes of the Islanders and how horrible they are. And maybe I'm overstating your case, and fine. That's my soliloquy to get this show going.
Okay. Mr. Wow, really making sure that, as you said, you're going to preempt any negativity or any critical.
Well, preempt means I'm kind of shutting it down before it starts. No, you're gonna speak your mind, and I guess I'm anticipating it coming, and I'm not.
Well, I guess you wanted to make sure you had your reaction at least explicitly stated for our audience,
and I'm not letting,
as opposed to reacting to what I was saying.
I'm not letting the anticipated comments that are forthcoming from the lip to not let me feel still good about this team and be excited that we can enjoy this playoff run for what it is. So that all being said up front, let's get right to it. So game 2 was a 4-1 loss at Tampa Bay. It was our dreaded, it's come to be a dreaded Saturday afternoon game for this team all season, it felt like. And look, I can't cite the numbers off the top of my head, but it felt like they usually just didn't show up for these Saturday afternoon games. Playoffs or not, apparently, because this one just no, with me I'm preempting myself here by now, kind of.
Well, this is where you can be critical, because the team stunk on Saturday. It's okay to be critical. They were awful.
And look, that's going to happen. I mean, they've had their awful games during the season. We've seen this, so it's come to be expected at this point. They're going to have awful games. I guess they're susceptible to that, and it happened. They had an awful game.
Yeah, they did. What was weird is that actually they came out pretty good in the first period. You know, we were watching. We went to a bar that had a Ranger flag outside. Shh, don't tell anybody. And we, you know, we're after the first period. I mean, we both looked at each other and said, like, "Wow, they actually played pretty well." I think. What were they? I guess they were losing 2-1. I guess after the first period, was it? I remember now. And but yeah, we thought they actually played a pretty decent period. And in the next two periods, I guess they were like, hey, you know, we go back 1-1. That's fine. We got the road split, the old cliche that you hear before every series for any, team that starts off on the road. Oh, get the split, get one, get home ice advantage. Well, I guess the Islanders were content with that, as that's exactly the way they played the last two periods in that game. I mean, they just couldn't get anything going, really for the remainder of the game. I mean, it was just like one of those games, where they just basically, they were just trying to, to clear the zone while Tampa Bay, they would bring it back in. They would maybe get a couple out. And Tampa Bay didn't play that great either. I mean, they would get a couple opportunities. The Islanders would clear. They would regroup at center, line change, rinse, wash, repeat. I mean, that seemed like that was the way the game was going. The Islanders didn't really pressure too much. In the second or third periods, I think they had like 6 shots. So in like the whatever ridiculous number it was in the second and third periods. I mean, they were just bad. For a majority of the game. And, it was a pretty lackluster 4-1 win for the Lightning. It was 3-1, pulled the goalie, empty net, game over. And, we're moving on that evening after the game ended, as the Hip and the Lip did, and getting ready for game number 3, which took place, of course, last night. And I will have some comments on that game.
Will you? So just, give a shout out to Bar Mile 19 in the Upper East Side. That is where we watched it. And
great venue. Hell of a venue.
For us. I mean, look, it wasn't, I brought my son there. He's 16 months. We couldn't go to a place that would be, shoulder to shoulder, no standing room. It worked out perfectly. There were, I don't know, 24 Islander fans maybe in the bar. Not too big, but cozy enough where there was room to, Jax can walk around and do his thing. And we had seats at the bar, and the bartender gave us good attention, and it worked out really well. So they may see more business from us. I got to say, I enjoyed that venue
despite the Ranger flag outside, and the shout out as well to
bartenders. I think it was the bartender's brother-in-law is a huge Islander fan, so he knew about the team. He watched all the games. I walked in, and there was nobody in there when I walked in. I walked in about 20 minutes before it started and just asked, are you going to show the game? You're going to have the sound on? Because that's important to us. And he's, it was like they were planning on it already, and other people came, asked the same question. It was great.
Yeah, there was I think there was like a grand total, I guess not including us, of like 5 Islander fans in there. Yeah, and they were. Yeah.
Hey, it worked for us. I mean, look, it.
No, it absolutely did. No. Yeah,
I think we're going to be repeat customers.
I like the combination of hockey and like a old ye British pub, type atmosphere is what it felt like. So a combination of that and hockey instead of like cricket or whatever you would usually have at a British pub. So that was interesting. And also I want to say shout out. You mentioned your son was there. Shout out to the coolest little 16-month-old hipster there is. So I'm sure he's in bed right now. So, but yeah, no, it was a good spot for everybody involved, and definitely a really good environment to watch the game, despite the, what we had to witness on the telly that we.
So one thing I want to just mention about Game 2 is I believe that all of the lines, at least the active players for the Islanders, were unchanged from Game 1. So you still had. Stroman for Bailey, and no Ryan Pulock, right? It was the same lineup as Game 1.
That's
nothing
correct.
changed. Now, I say that because that changed for Game 3. And Jack said, or I think Ryan Strome came out and said to reporters that he was told that he's not playing in Game 3. And the Twitter firestorm commenced. Because what does that mean? That means who is playing in his place?
and yours truly was caught up in that firestorm. And I know you want to get to that, so I'll let you take that whenever you wish. But our old friend Josh Bailey, who was out due to injury, some kind of mysterious ailment or something afflicting Mr. Bailey in his upper body region. He missed. He left in Game 6, of course, as you remember, in the Florida series, and not playing the first 2 games. And you kept hearing the news like he's skating. But you keep thinking though to yourself, all right, well, there's no way they're going to put him back in the lineup, despite the fact that they lost in Game 2. I mean, who are you going to sit him for? I mean, Bernier had been playing well, at least I thought. Strome, was responsible for got 2 primary assists on both the Shane Prince's goals in Game 1. Had been playing much better. Analytics, said, all the advanced stats said that Strome was playing well throughout the entire playoffs when he did play, at least in the first round and then in the first couple games of this series. So you're thinking who could he take out at this point? Maybe Nelson, who we'll get to, has been horrific. And I want to make sure I get some venom spewed at Brock Nelson in Brock Nelson's direction, because I usually save it for a few select players, as you like to have fun with me. But Brock Nelson has not been good. But I thought that he may have been, the guy, or But I'm just trying to think of who we would potentially take out of the lineup for Bailey. Sure enough, it's Strome, as you mentioned, and let the firestorm commence.
It's worth mentioning before we get into the game what happened before the game.
Okay, so, I'll take it away.
The Islanders beat writer Arthur Staple, I guess he reported the news, and the Lip was, caught up in emotion in responding to. I think somebody on Twitter said, why aren't you asking the tough questions? Like, what kind of reporter are you? That sort of thing. Because in response to Arthur just telling us that Strome wasn't playing, because I think a lot of fans were outraged that Josh Bailey was not. Was getting the call over Strome, or that somebody else wasn't being benched. Anyway, so you responded to that saying that this is a horrific decision, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but something about it's an indictment to the fans, or it's whatever. And then Arthur Staple responded to you and said, if you're going to complain, send it to the other guy. I don't take
unfollow
requests.
Me. Right. Yeah, unfollow me. I don't take requests. Yeah.
Yeah, because he said that it only makes me angry when you tell me how to do my job. And clearly, it was a misunderstanding because you were reacting to the news itself, not to the guy that was complaining that the writer wasn't asking the tougher questions. At least that was my understanding of it.
Yeah.
And so you had to go.
Right,
yeah. So you had to go back and forth a few times with him to make it clear that you kind of kissed his ass a little bit. You were sorry. You didn't say you were sorry.
Pretty much. I made
criticizing him that, but you're like, I'm sure you understand our frustration. And yes, of course he does. He writes, he gets all the tweets as more than anyone of Islander fans complaining. And so in the end, you mentioned us and us being hip in the lip, and it all turned out fine. But I think it just goes to
I actually had the perfect opportunity to interject that, because he said, because I mentioned the other guy that, I was, responding to on the Twitter, and when I sent out my Twitters, and he said, well, the other guy has an outlet because he writes about the team. So I said, well, I have an outlet too, because I said something, to the effect, we need you to be our mouthpieces because we have no direct access to Garth Snow and whatever. So, but I mentioned, I also have an outlet. I have a podcast, and then I got well, good luck with the podcast. Oh, thanks, Arthur.
And here we are. And so now tell us, expand on why you felt so strongly about the decision when it was announced.
Well, I mean, anybody that's listened knows how much I've been on Josh Bailey, and Josh Bailey has been nothing short of wretched. His game, his season overall was pretty bad. It was bad. I mean, he had a terrible season. His play actually got worse in the postseason. In the last round against Florida, Jack Capuano, we remember, called him out along with Strome and Nelson. After that terrible Pittsburgh game, that 5-0 loss at the end of March, beginning of April, whenever that was, on that Saturday afternoon game, of course.
Right.
And actually, Bailey's play, at least in my opinion, got worse. He actually regressed after being called out by Capuano. It looked like he was just, lost, like he was just floating out there. I mean, was not making any kind of positive contribution to the Islanders. And one of the things I've always, and I'm prefacing this now because of obviously we're going to get to the game and the game that he had, but one of the things, it's frustrating for us because this guy is a former first-round pick. This guy has ability. We've seen him. We've seen that skill and that ability on display at times, but he's just so maddeningly inconsistent that you just say, like, this is a guy that's just never figured it out. He's a head case. It's just everything is mental with him. And and just the game seems to move too fast for him. He just doesn't think the game. And it just seems like it's between the ears with him. And it's not, a physical thing. And, it really just seemed like he had checked out. And I was like, this guy looks like he doesn't give a crap. Why should he be in the lineup? And why would you consider putting him back in the lineup when he has been as bad as he has been? So.
And so we go to the first period of this game, and who's the first guy to score in his first game back from injury?
And there he is. Yep. So
Josh Bailey score!
And there he is, scoring the first goal of the game. And I'll just say that the result doesn't validate the decision. I'll just say that the result that we got in the game yesterday from
What about
Bailey.
the result of the second goal of Josh Bailey a little bit later in the game? Yeah.
And what's funny is that he almost had a hat trick goal, which would have could have been the game winning goal.
Oh man!
Maybe it put the game away. He makes a really nice move, and Bishop makes a great.
I remember that. Yes.
But hey, look, I mean,
that would have been ridiculous.
Yeah, well, just talk about like the ultimate redemption for a player, and it could have been, that would have been one of the storylines yesterday if they would have won the game. Oh. But hey, look, on that first goal, Bailey got to a soft spot in Tampa Bay's coverage. I'm just going to say this, and we're going to get to how atrocious the Islanders' defensive zone coverage is. Tampa Bay is also very lax with their defensive zone coverage, and there have just been numerous soft spots out on the ice, especially when Victor Hedman's not out there. But Bailey, hey, look, he found an opening. They fed the puck to him, and he had a wide open. Or he had a wide open shot, right? Point blank in front of the goalie, and he buried it. So, hey, it was a good job by Bailey. He went behind the net. Saw the opening. Made his way in front. You can actually make the argument he should not have gone behind the net, but we don't the nitpick. Found himself right in front, buried the goal, 1-0, and that would remain the score until the very end of the first period, of course, when Tampa Bay would go on the power play.
Yeah, it's always, look, you can look at the end of the first period and you're tied 1-1 and you're like, okay, fine, we're tied. But when you relinquish the lead with such a short amount of time left in the period, it just deflates the energy, I feel like, of the building during that intermission. It just, if the Islanders scored to tie it with 13 seconds left, if it happened vice versa, I guess is my point. The energy in the building would be kind of bumping because the Islanders tied the game and like, oh, okay, we're back in this. But because of the way the sequencing events occurred and the timing of it, it took energy out. But it didn't slow the Islanders down. I feel like going into the period. So,
yeah, no, and I thought the Islanders had a great period. I thought the first period they played really, really well. I liked in putting Bailey back in the lineup, since Bailey actually played with the Pulse yesterday and looked like he, seemed to actually have a little bit of, passion and emotion in his game. Him being paired with, being on the line with Franz Nielsen and Nikolai Kulemin yesterday, that was Jack's little secret weapon that he deployed against the triplets for the Tampa Bay Lightning. That would be Kucherov, Palat, and Tyler Johnson, and those three were reunited in Game 1. Midway through, whenever it was in Game 1 for the Lightning. So you saw those three put back together. You saw them give the Islanders hell in Game 2. And so Capuano now having last change and, realizing that he has to match up against that line, decided to put together a checking line. And I thought that trio had a terrific night, and not just Bailey. Franz Nielsen and Nikolai Kulemin, who I thought played one of his best games of the postseason. He was, I thought, tremendous yesterday. He was, physical. He was, playing the body really well, played really strong along the boards. He was skating well. And when he's playing at his best, Nikolai Kulemin, he's not going to produce much offensively. We know this. But he is just so strong. He's such a strong skater, and he's so strong along the boards, and he makes it difficult for the smaller guys like those three to have the time and space to be able to make plays. So I thought that was a good matchup. Good job by Jack matching up that line against the trio, against the triplets trio for Tampa. And really, overall, a really solid first period before we get to the second period, as Ryan Callahan, the ex-Ranger, and Islander fans, of course, familiar with him being an ex-Ranger, got the tying goal right before the end of the first period. But, yeah, I mean, didn't really seem to deflate them, at least leading into the second period, came out. It wasn't a great start for them in that period. They would eventually get behind on a Victor Hedman blast off of a clean face-off win for Tampa, and just blasted it right off of the face-off past just a surprise that Thomas Greiss, who did not see that shot coming or did not think that shot was coming. So Hedman, of course, had a tremendous game for Tampa Bay. Really, I thought, and we'll get to more with Hedman, and he's just such a presence out there. And one of the things that they talked about, at least for Capuano, was keeping Tavares away from Hedman, which is very difficult considering that he's going to play, between 28 and 32 minutes or whatever a game, for Tampa Bay, especially with Stralman out. They really rely on him really heavily out there. But and then of course they would tie the game. Nick Leddy would get the tying goal at 2 off of a good, actually really good shift by the fourth line, and again a great game for the fourth line. They've really reestablished their presence in this series, where they were kind of neutralized against Florida. Playing a physical game, getting in on the forecheck, creating pressure, cycling the puck. I mean, really, I thought had a very good game yesterday. And it seemed like limited shifts at times for that group, but they definitely made the most of their shifts, and they were responsible for the second goal that would give the Island, that would tie the game before we would head to the third period.
And that's where things picked up even more steam, and we could probably spend a couple hours on the third period alone.
Yeah, well, a very eventful last part of the game from the third period, of course, into overtime. But in that third period, you mentioned Bailey's scoring 2 goals in the game. Well, he would score his second goal to give the Islanders the lead. And actually, I was going crazy before he scored that goal because it was 4-on-4. The Islanders committed a penalty. It was a power play for Tampa. Tampa then takes a penalty shortly after, so it's 4-on-4. And I mean, it was a limited 4-on-4. They were it was going to be like 4-on-4 for 25, 30 seconds, whatever it was. And what does he do? Capuano, he throws out Prince and Bailey. And I'm saying, what is he doing putting them out when or actually maybe even less, maybe like 15, 20 seconds. But I said, what are you putting them out there for when you know that you're going to be getting the power play in in a very short amount of time? You're going to want Tavares and your power play 1 guys out there, not Bailey and Prince. Sure enough, though, as the power play starts, they gain the zone. Hickey, a great feed, makes a nice little move behind the net, a great feed in front of Bailey, who actually drove the net there. Again, Bailey with the pulse and showing like he actually wants to engage himself in the game. And, again, another point-blank opportunity. He buries it, Bailey. Second goal of the game. The crowd erupts. I just, put my hands on my face like I'm shocked. Like, holy crap, Bailey's just scored 2 goals when he hadn't scored 2 goals in a game probably in like 3 years, and had 2 goals like had 2 goals like total in the last 3 months. So 2 goals in the game. Wow. Josh Bailey, how about this? Stepping up big for the Islanders in a very important game in the series. So.
Yeah. Do you think maybe his time off, I don't know, did it somehow light a fire in this guy? Because he looked like a different player. He just looked to be in the right place at the right time and actually executing. It was strange in a great way.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, maybe, he just needed like the mental break, maybe he just needed, to watch, just to see from a different vantage point for a couple of games, and, for games 1 and 2, of course, not playing. I don't know. I honestly don't know. And look, I mean, we know he's going to be in the lineup now. There's no way he'll be taken out of the lineup now for Strome. So Strome, I guess, will be riding the bench again, or be up in the press box again for the next game. But look, he has to continue this. I mean, you need, and again, you see the skill on display with them. I mean, this guy has skill, he has ability, but he's just never been able to put it together because he just, again, lacks that that hockey sense, and he lacks that that extra gear and that drive, the extra drive, and that passion and emotion that you have to play with as a hockey player. Obviously contained emotion and passion, but he just seems to lack it at times. And, really seemed to display it yesterday when he scored. I mean, you saw how excited he was when he scored those 2 goals. And you would think a player would be excited when he scores in a playoff game. But still, it was just very surreal to see Josh Bailey contributing like that. And you just hope that he continues it going forward, because we know he'll be in the lineup. Probably will be with that group again with not Nielsen and Kuhlman. So, hey, continue it, Josh. We're going to need it. If we're going to need all hands on deck.
So then Tampa Bay tied it again, right, to make it 3-3 after Josh scored. Josh made it 3-2. Is that right?
Correct. So.
Yep.
Yeah, and then one of the other themes of the game that I wanted to get to was just how bad and how disastrous Calvin DeHaan and Johnny Boychuk were in this game. And I haven't piled on those two, but they've been very important cogs in the Islanders' defense all year. Over the last couple of years, DeHaan, I thought, had a really strong season. It really seemed like he picked up his play after having a subpar season last year. Johnny Boychuk, who I did backflips, when they announced the trade for him, and I thought he had a very good year last year, was a stalwart for them throughout the whole season and in the playoffs against Washington. Both struggled at times this year. Again, DeHaan, I thought, had a really good year, but DeHaan struggled down the stretch this year, whereas Boychuk really struggled throughout a good portion of the season. We remember his shoulder injury earlier in the season, Boychuk, when he took that horrible spill in Buffalo, and now there's whispers that Boychuk still may be injured, that he's playing through a couple of injuries, or playing through some kind of ailment. So we can only speculate as to what that may be, but he has really struggled at times. The puck right now is like a grenade on his stick. The puck's on his stick, and you hold your breath with him, because he cannot move the puck in his own zone. The best he can do is just shoot it off the boards and hope that it doesn't go for an icing, or if the zone is cleared, just make a little simple outlet pass. That's really all he can do right now with the puck. But the idea was that DeHaan is supposed to be so cool and calm and collected and composed with the puck in his own zone that he would be a good defensive pairing. And that's part of the reason, at least I think, why he separated Leddy and Boychuk, which that pairing struggled this year, and paired Hamonic with Leddy, and then DeHaan with Boychuk, because Boychuk can just let DeHaan make those outlet passes and handle the puck in his own zone, as opposed to Boychuk having to do that job and having that responsibility for himself. And that pair yesterday was a train wreck, and on that third goal, terrible turnover by DeHaan behind the net. Once he turned the puck over, you just knew something bad. At least they were going to get a really good scoring chance, which of course they did. They were scrambling. Tampa Bay just took advantage of the gaps in the Islanders' defensive coverage there, as the Islanders just could not regroup. And the Mestikov, I still can't pronounce that guy's name, but he parked himself right in front of the net. Valtteri Filppula, the ageless wonder. I guess he's not that old, but he's been around, it seems like, forever. Filppula found him in front and buried a very good, right in front, the point blank opportunity for Mestikov, and tie game at that point, 3-3. And I'm just, I throw my hands up as soon as DeHaan turns that puck over.
Yep. Well,
but
the Islanders fought back, and
3-3 at that point.
Yeah, it was 3-3 at that point, and then our good, podcast friend Cal Clutterbuck.
Clutch
Clutterbuck gets the game takes the lead again for the Islanders, 4-3. The puck kind of bounced to him, but he was left open. He was wide open, and he made a beautiful shot, top shelf, to really ignite the Barclays Center in this back and forth affair. I mean, it really just added to this, and we're not even done with the third period, but that was a pretty incredible moment right there.
Yeah, well, another good shift by the fourth line. They had the pressure on the entire time. They were on the ice for that shift in the Tampa Bay zone. It was a fail clear by the Tampa Bay defenseman. It went off of Casey Cizikas' skate, who was stickless actually at that point, but Cizikas was along the boards. It would ricochet right off of his skate and right to Clutterbuck, who was wide open in front, and a beautiful shot by Clutterbuck. He waits out Bishop. He waits Bishop to commit there and get some kind of drifting from his left to right, and then Clutterbuck has an opening left side and just absolutely ripped a beautiful wrist shot right over the glove of Bishop there. A tremendous shot by Clutterbuck. Another clutch, at least at the time, it seemed like a potential clutch game-winning goal by Clutterbuck, as we've seen multiple goals scored by Clutterbuck this year, which have been of the big clutch and game-winning variety. So, just again, a tremendous shift for that line. Great shot by Clutterbuck, 4-3. Building's in a frenzy. We're thinking, all right, let's hold on here. Let's keep the pressure on. Let's see if we can hold this lead now and come out of here with the victory and, get Tampa Bay on their heels and get them maybe reeling a little bit, make them second-guess themselves a little bit. Obviously, a team that, went to the Cup Finals last year and has aspirations for the Cup Finals again to win a Cup. And, Islanders, yeah, let's go. Hold the phone, everybody. Mr. Hip, take it away, because I'll have plenty to say afterwards.
Well, they pulled the goalie with Bishop comes out with about 2 minutes left, and it was just the same pressure from Tampa Bay from that point forward. I mean, you just knew. Look, they didn't have any great chances right away, but you knew that they were closing in on the net and that they were going to have one of those one-timers and Greiss would just be out of position and they wouldn't be able to stop it. And it took them a minute and a half, but they set it up well, and Kucherov was there to take the feed and just buried it. And 38.4 seconds to go in the game, and the Lightning strike. It just could not be physical enough to get the Lightning out of the zone. I don't know if they were tired. I don't know if Tampa Bay just out muscled them. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, and maybe you have something to say there. But it just felt like they couldn't do whatever they needed to get the puck out, and Tampa Bay just closed in and executed.
Yeah, well, I mean, they pulled the goalie with like 2 minutes to go, whatever it was, and they had on Frans Nielsen and his unit, I think at that point, and then the Cizikas line came back on, and then right before they scored the goal, with just over a minute to go in the game now, Jack throws out Tavares, Oposo, and Frans Nielsen. He wants two centers on the ice, and obviously Frans Nielsen being one of his top defensive forwards, but also throws out Tavares, who's been really, really good on the draws. And if there is a face, I mean, obviously they could have changed lines, but in case there's an icing there, they have to ice the puck. Okay, I want to make sure that there's two centers on the ice, so let's have Frans and Tavares out there. Why Oposo was out there, I don't know. I think he should have thrown out Kuhlman. Would have been my choice. Throw out there at that point, not Oposo, who's not really good in his own zone. You can get on Jack for that. I'm not going to kill Jack there. I mean, it's tough because the game it's so unstructured at that point. You're playing down a man. At least you only have 5 skaters on the ice. When the other team pulls the goalie, obviously they have 6 skaters. So it's kind of a little bit of a free for all, kind of chaotic in the last minute and a half, whatever, of a game like that. And the bottom line is on that goal, the Islanders just did not pressure the puck carrier. I mean, you're basically watching Jonathan Drouin, who was blown up by Thomas Hickey, and we're going to get to hits in this game, and we didn't mention that yet, but Jonathan Drouin, who was blown up on a very clean, hard, physical, clean hit, clean being the key word there, by Thomas Hickey earlier in the game, left the game, came back, does Drouin, but he's taken on that goal, though, he's taken a puck, he's basically on the wall, has all the time and space in the world. Boychuk, instead of being hard on the puck carrier there, and Boychuk's name again coming up here, who's on the ice, I think, with Hickey at that point, but Boychuk, instead of pressuring Drouin there and trying to at least get him to commit the puck either down low or back up to the point where you would rather the puck go and not towards the middle of the ice. Whereas, I mean, if there is any cardinal sin for a team in that scenario, it's allowing the puck to be easily put into that slot area for a guy to be able to get a clean shutoff, which is exactly what happened. So Drouin takes the puck down the wall. Kucherov, one of the great snipers in the league now, is able to find a very soft opening right in the high slot, takes the pass from Drouin, who could have had a cup of coffee, there before.
Perhaps the Lip went for a cup of coffee himself in the middle of that sentence. Did we lose the lip? Did we lose the lip? Maybe it's for the best because he was he was about to explode. He was about to explode as he explained that goal, and kind of set the stage for it earlier in the episode there. It was a deflator. I mean, look, the Islanders have had their similar share of excitement in on their end when they scored with 50 seconds left against Florida in Game 6 and to tie it, and they eventually won the overtime. In fact, that was a series clinching game. So, look, they are facing some adversity that they've delivered earlier in this Stanley Cup playoffs, and so I want to leave it to the Lift to get into Brian Boyle and the controversial hit. I think he is back. Yes, now. Okay, welcome back. So
I have my plug in here too, so I don't know why that just happened.
It's all right. Well, look, you're back, and basically all I said was
where did I leave off?
You were talking about how Kucherov was just left in that soft spot in the high slot, and Drouin was, you're saying how he could have had a cup of coffee. I said you were on the verge to explode, and I basically said, look, they scored. The Islanders have gotten a taste of their own medicine because, look, they delivered a more devastating blow to Florida with 50 seconds left to tie a game in Game 6, and they won. The Islanders won in overtime to eliminate the Panthers. Now, look, it's happened to the Islanders here now, where they lost a game where they were winning with a minute left. So, look, it's some adversity. They got to man up. They got a couple days now to regroup and even up this series. But before we get to that theme, we have to give you an opportunity to discuss the overtime.
Well, so game now tied at 4. Again, I'll just say, just to sum it up, a collective fail by the Islanders on that tying goal. Just everybody involved collectively just completely blew that entire play there to allow Tampa to tie. But as we get to the overtime now, and hey, look, it's a home game, and I shouldn't even just say home game because they won a road game in double overtime in the first round, 3-0 in overtime games. You're thinking, okay, more overtime magic. Yes, it's things that they have to get to go to overtime now, looking like they had it locked up in regulation. But all right. Maybe there'll be a new hero now in overtime after we saw, Hickey and then Quine and then Tavares in the first round. So off we go. Overtime begins, and really before you can blink, if you had to get up and get a snack, or get another beer or something, you would come back, and depending on how long you were gone, maybe you even missed the game-winning goal. It seemed like it happened that quickly into overtime. But now, I just want to say, I understand that I am biased. I understand that I am not speaking I cannot be completely objective when it comes to assessing or analyzing a play involving the Islanders. I get it. I understand. And anybody watching that overtime goal, the way the whole thing transpired, the whole play, the way it transpired, anybody is going to at least point to what preceded the Lightning scoring that goal. And now, I just want to say that watching the play develop. Now, you see Hickey with the puck in his own zone. He passes the puck up ice. The puck goes to Shane Prince, who gets blame here because he did not. You have to either chip that puck in, or you either corral the pass, or you chip the puck in. If you have a defender on you and you don't think you're going to be able to accept that pass, you have to deflect it into the zone. So, fail by Shane Prince there. I just want to get that out there because that really wasn't talked about, or at least I don't remember it being pointed out. Now, as soon as the puck gets on Prince's stick, it's immediately put back towards the Islander zone. Now, it's always dangerous to commit a neutral zone turnover against this team because they are so dangerous and they are so quick at turning the puck up ice and transitioning back the other way. But what happens here, now, as soon as the puck comes back towards the Islanders' blue line, you see Brian Boyle coming in on a 2-on-1. At least initially it was a 2-on-1, and I'm saying to myself, what is going on? How did that happen? How can they have an on-man situation here? And as I see the puck then get move towards the weak side as Hedman comes up from his defensive spot to a big opening on the in that area there, as the Islanders were again could not regroup, scrambling at this point since one of their players was on the ice behind the play, which of course we'll get to. But Hedman then takes a pass, is wide open, shoots the puck wide. Now Greiss, of course, is challenging, as he always does, challenges the shooter. Is angles himself to take away the net from Hedman and forces Hedman to shoot the puck wide. Now, as we have heard from the announcers and any commentator that's talked about the Barclays Center, the boards are so lively, and Pierre and the boards are so lively, and you have to be aware of that, and Islanders will have an advantage there because they're familiar with it. Blah 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 blah. Well, it screws the Islanders there because puck careens right off the boards, right to Brian Boyle, the ex-Ranger SOB, who I will express a few more thoughts on in a moment. Brian Boyle collects the puck as a sprawl-in. Thomas Greiss tries to get back in the position and try and make a miraculous save, is unable to, and puck gets put in the back of the net. Game over, and we're all just stunned in disbelief as to what just took place. At least I was. Now, of course, you see a replay. And again, what preceded the overtime goal was in my opinion, a hit that, if you don't want to say it was a dirty hit, and we'll get to those that basically, kind of glossed over the hit. Those in the media that kind of glossed over the hit. And I'll name names here. I'm going to name names. But the hit, even if you don't believe it was dirty, even if you don't believe that there was an elbow thrown by Brian Boyle at the head of Thomas Hickey, who apparently was spitting blood after the game, as per Jack Capuano, even if you don't believe it was dirty, it was still late. It was still a vulnerable player in Thomas Hickey that had just, released the pass, had his stick up in the air, was in a vulnerable position. And in comes Brian Boyle to target Thomas Hickey, to lay him out with a hit. Again, late, should have been penalized, in my opinion, was clear interference. Hickey is now knocked out, laid out on the ice, back the other way that comes the puck, back the other way comes Boyle and the Lightning. And then, of course, as I just described, the game-winning goal. But immediately when I saw that, I was absolutely beside. I don't know what you thought, if you initially thought it was a bad play, a dirty hit, but I was absolutely beside myself. To me, it looked like a clear headshot. It looked like clearly Brian Boyle brought his elbow up to the face, to the head of Thomas Hickey, which is something that's been very much a trending topic in the NHL now for years now, as there's been so much controversy surrounding the punishment and the discipline of players that target other players' heads in the NHL, stating we want to get these hits out of the game and whatever. Now, you see it from a few different angles, and you can question whether or not he actually brought his elbow up to his head. But like I said, it was clearly a penalty in my eyes. It was right in front of the referee. You could even make the argument the referee should have blown it dead as soon as he sees the player sprawled out on the ice there, as Hickey was. But in my opinion, it was an unnecessary hit. It was a dangerous hit, and it was a hit that should have been penalized. A play that should have been blown dead. There should have been no goal. The Islanders were screwed. You want to say I'm biased? I'm not objective. I have blue and orange tinted visors on. Say what you wish, everybody. Those objective people in the media, I saw it the way I did, and I thought it was a penalty, and I thought the Islanders got screwed there. Mr. Hip, your thoughts?
I'm still. Oh, there's Hickey. I keep trying to watch the replay, and they apparently reviewed this after the game. What were the refs looking at?
Yeah, well, they were just reviewing to see if it was offsides. It wasn't offsides. I initially, you're like, what's going on? I didn't realize that that's what it was. I mean, you saw him at the blue line there, so as soon as I was able to think clearly for a second after being.
Man, Hickey was really stunned. He doesn't even have a stick, and Boyle's in front of the net.
Yeah, you see him just kind of gently, make his way back into the play just as Boyle is scoring.
And you
the goal.
can look, even after they score, he's holding his face.
Oh yeah, no, he was hurt, and you heard it after the game that they were evaluating him. That they evaluated. I don't know if there was any update on Hickey. I have to check. I don't remember seeing anything specific about it. They may have not have announced anything, but they said he was spitting up blood after the game. He was clearly it was clearly hitting the head there. You know, you want to say it was in the chin or something is what I saw today. Oh, it wasn't the head. Maybe his shoulder or something got his chin or whatever. It wasn't a dirty play. And I'm going to name those names in a moment. I just wanted to at least let you interlude something there as I was going on there for a few minutes. But
no, keep going.
But you saw that he was dazed. You saw that he clearly was hurt on the play. And to me, it was something that should have been penalized. And I don't think there's any debate to that at all. So. To me, the Islanders got screwed.
They don't even have like I'm trying to find like a one of the first search results that shows the hit, and can't even find it.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it from a few different angles.
Did they show it on TV right away?
Yeah, well, yeah, within like a minute or whatever after they showed the replay of the goal itself. They say, okay, this is what happened. You see Brian Boyle come in here, lay out Thomas Hickey on the play. And then that's what allowed them to come in, with numbers there at Tampa Bay. And that's what got the Islanders scrambling and they couldn't recover. And that's why Boyle was all alone at the side of the net there. Of course, the recipient of a fortuitous, credit Butchie there. That's one of his favorite words, fortuitous bounce. Put the puck, into a half open, gaping, yawning, I should say, net there. But like I said, to me, I mean, you saw the replay after the goal was scored. Like I said, shortly after the goal was scored, you see it from an vantage point from behind Hickey. So you see Boyle approach Hickey, lay him out with, again, you see his elbow come up, Boyle, and you see his head snap back, Hickey. And there was actually a few that thought he was embellishing on the play, which is nonsense. I mean, Thomas Hickey's not embellishing, to try and get a penalty at that point in overtime at his own blue line when the puck is coming back the other way. So that's nonsense to say he was embellishing. But you see the head, go up in the air, so you're thinking it, was clearly an elbow. Now you see a different vantage point from kind of like overhead where Boyle comes in. Again, it looked like his elbow was getting up there, and that he definitely made some kind of contact with his upper part of his chest or like his lower part of his face. So he definitely got him there. Again, you want to say it was borderline, that you want to argue that it wasn't really a clear elbow to the head. It was still late. It was still an unnecessary and dangerous hit because he was still in a vulnerable position, having just, released the puck. And I'll just point out for anybody that remembers, Mark Savard, who is a player, I don't even know what team he's on now, whatever, who has his rights. I think he was traded at some point this year, whatever, doesn't matter. But he was injured on a very dangerous play in which he was concussed. And it was something similar where he had just released his shot. In comes one of the dirtiest players in the league over the last 20 years, and Matt Cook, who, targets his head, hits him in the head, knocks him out cold. And I don't think he's played a game since. But I referenced that, though, because it was similar in that Hickey had just released the puck, and you can't defend yourself. You can't brace for a hit when you're in that position. And it's something that, from what I understood, the NHL was trying to get rid of. But again, right in front of the referee, clearly didn't think it was a penalty.
Or he just missed it?
But he was right there, though. He was right there. The referee, you see him in the picture. He's literally standing right there.
He didn't think it was interference, I guess. He didn't want to. I don't know. I can't speak for him.
But I also want to.
Look, we could harp on the hit all night, and the reality is...
No, you're right, and we can. The reality is that they had an opportunity to win, and they blew it.
There are probably calls that, where the Islanders made hits, maybe not in that particular game, but
not Hickey.
The Islander player should have been called. It's just bad timing, obviously, because it resulted in a goal, and so it's magnified.
Right, but this is for Mike Milbury, for Keith Jones, and for Dave Reed on NHL Network, and for Larry Brooks in the Post, the Ranger shill Larry Brooks, who I have defended. I think he's sometimes a pretty decent NHL columnist. But this is for you, Larry, who wrote an article today in the Post about how it was so unfair that Brian Boyle, the ex-Ranger, was villainized for this innocuous hit. Oh, how dare you! Call out Brian, the incredible Brian Boyle there. Well, Larry, let me just say, and I think he even used the word dissimilar to describe we're not very or very, very similar, whatever he said, to describe Hickey's hit on Druin, which could not be further from the case, further from the truth. But anyway, this is for Lowry and for Jonesy and for Milbury and for everybody else that decided to gloss over the hit or just go, oh, what's that dirty hit? It was fine. Moving on. Oh, how about that goal in Tampa Bay? And they'll spend all this time talking about Brooks Orpik and Chris Letang and their hits, which got them both suspended. But we'll just gloss over what Boyle did to Hickey there. Even if you don't think it was a penalty, for them to blatantly ignore it or just to call it a good hit and let's move on now. Let's talk about Tampa Bay and how they came back in the game. You know what? You can all shove it. Milbury, Jonesy, Brooksy, all of you can go shove it. You all have been crapping on the Islanders for years. Yes, they've deserved it, but you know what? The hell with all of you. If you want to approach it like that and not at least examine the play from every angle, the hell with all of you. And you know what? We don't care. I think something like this can galvanize the team now. The team you saw was livid. The coach was livid. You heard him after the game in his post-game press conference absolutely destroy the referees, at least to the extent that he can without getting fined by Gary Bettman and his lackeys and lieutenants in the NHL front office. But yeah, so you know what? Hopefully this will galvanize the team. Hopefully the team will use this as a rallying cry. They could obviously go the other way and get completely demoralized after losing a game like this, but we'll see how resilient they are. We'll see, this will be a true test of the team's character, and we'll see, how much of we'll see how much of a motivator this will be for the team going forward, or how much this could potentially galvanize the team and be one of those turning points in a season for a team.
And as you were just discussing, the Pittsburgh Penguins have taken a 3-1 series lead on the Washington Capitals, just scoring in overtime.
There is Hornquist.
Wow.
So it is now 3-1 Pittsburgh, and without Chris Letang, who I mentioned just a moment ago, who was suspended for this game. So if there was ever an opportunity for the Capitals just to, pour it on the Penguins,
a turnover.
They blew it. Oh my God!
Terrible. I mean, it's like whoever that player is, number 6 on Washington, he just handed it to Hornquist. He just handed it to him.
Yeah, I guess I gotta watch that one more time there. I think
you watch it.
Exactly. I gotta see.
If you were a blogger for the Capitals, you would say that player just potentially cost the Capitals their season. I don't know who number 6 is.
And this is a Washington Capital team that steamrolled the NHL, and now they are looking at death's door once again in the second round.
Wow.
As they still have not been to a conference final, in forever. I mean, 97 whenever they made the Cup Finals, but wow. Patrick Hornquist, the game winner. Score, says Doc. Wow.
Well, look, I mean,
there you go.
The Islanders, look, the hit is over. The Islanders lost. They got to regroup. This is playoff hockey. You can't expect to be up at every point of every series. You're going to be down.
Oh, no, of course.
They have a home game
You're going to have
up.
adversity. Oh, yeah.
Right, and so let's focus our attention on getting pumped for game 4. Let's go. All right.
Well, all right. Game 4 on Friday, of course. Justin Bieber preempts the Islanders, so Islanders have to wait till Friday for the Bieber, the Bee-Man, whatever his new nickname is, to perform for all the, screaming 12, 13, 14-year-old girls. And
it far exceeds the demand. Tickets.
Yeah, I'm sure if you told Fatso, that's a term I'm taking from DiPietro, if you told Fatso, a.k.a. Mike Francesa, that, sure, he would have a field day with that after he expanded on his assault on Rick DiPietro and the Islanders. But you know what? Screw you too. I didn't get him in on my tirade, but you know what? Screw you too, Fatty. I bet you didn't even talk about the game today during your show, where you probably analyzed Terry Collins' decision to bunt in the 7th inning when they were up by a run, and then had to take more calls on the subject.
Yeah, well, Islander fans won't miss him when he's gone, when he retires, I guess.
Yeah, maybe there'll be some hockey talk in the drive time, or Islander talk. Well,
we'll see. Less.
Eh?
It can't be any less.
No, it cannot be any less. Unless, at least, the only time now, it seems like, even when they're in the playoffs, is just to rail on the fact that the tickets haven't been sold and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
as we have gotten from the exalted one, the sports pope himself, over the last couple of days. But whatever, who cares? WGAS. We're focused on our team right now, and we're focused on Friday and an opportunity for them to at least get the series tied and back to Tampa Bay 2-2. And hey, they got to regroup. I'm sure it'll be the same lineup on Friday. I'd be surprised if there was any changes. I'm sure Strome will once again be in the press box. Possibly Nelson, who I have not destroyed yet, and I know we're coming up towards the end of our episode, but Brock Nelson has just been terrible also, and I'm absolutely astounded at how bad he has been. He right now looks like he doesn't have a pulse. It looks like it looks like the whatever was infecting Josh Bailey has entered Brock Nelson's body, but he has not been good really at all this time.
We listen to you, sometimes we listen to you, and it's like, what positive do you take out of the Islanders? And it's like, there's nothing if we just listen to you, because
hey, I complimented Bailey up and down this episode. And Hamonic has been a stalwart for them. Okay. And Hickey, I thought, had a tremendous game. I thought Hickey had
good. Now I'm glad we got in 5 seconds of Hickey, Hamonic, and who was I missed.
And the fourth line. I credited the fourth line. Okay. We love and remember Clutterbuck. We love Clutterbuck. He is a friend of the show. We have credited him all year and mentioned all the positives that he brings to this team, and it's continuing. And let's hope
let's just be clear: when we say he's a friend of the show, it's not like we have this ongoing friendship with him. No, we're a little obsessed with Cal Clutterbuck and his name, and so
but also because he's one of those unsung heroes. He's an unsung
he's a friend
guy
to us, but it's not vice versa. So at this point, but
maybe he'll hear of us. Yeah, maybe he'll hear about how much we go out of our way to mention him and talk about him, and he'll maybe throw his hat into that big ring for Hip and the Lip to be a guest.
So look, we got a game Friday and we got a game Sunday. We're not doing a show between now and then, so hopefully we still have a series. Come next show. Otherwise, it could be season's over. I don't know. I don't want to negatively, but we'll be back next week. We're both going to be out of town at the same fun bachelor party coming up this weekend. We're going to be back late Sunday, so I don't know. Maybe next show is Monday.
We will be in Nashville Predator country, so we get to experience Nashville Predator playoff fever firsthand.
That's right. All right.
We will, of course, have to find a good spot on Friday to watch the game. And
indeed.
Yes, so we.
Let's go Islanders. Yes. All right. Enjoy your hockey, folks.
Yes, indeed. See you next time.
Washington Capitals may be very well gone in a few days.
Yeah, they may be gone too by the time our next.
They may be eliminated before the Islanders.
Who knows?
Oh, would have thought that. All right.
Bye.
Bye.